Have you ever wondered how you would escape from an oil rig in an emergency? Accidents on offshore oil rigs can be devastating. 167 people died on the Piper Alpha installation in the United Kingdom sector of the North Sea in 1988, the world's deadliest offshore accident, and many workers perished because they couldn't escape from the inferno. So how can workers get off during events like this? This video shows you how. When alarms go off during an emergency, the first thing that usually happens is that workers proceed to a place of safety called a temporary refuge. This is usually the accommodation block, and is designed to protect workers from the effects of fire and explosions until they are rescued, typically for up to 1 hour. One issue during the Piper Alpha disaster was smoke ingress into the temporary refuge, which overcame some of the occupants sheltering inside. Platforms have multiple routes to get back to the temporary refuge, just in case routes are impaired by fires and explosions. But one role on a drilling rig has a particular problem: the derrick man. A derrick man is a member of the drill crew and is often up the drilling derrick during drilling operations. When the worst happens, he can get stranded, especially in a well blowout scenario. So a zip line is commonly provided for the derrick man, otherwise known as the Geronimo line, to provide escape from the derrick quickly. After getting to the temporary refuge, the preferred way to get off an oil platform, and by far the safest way, is by helicopter. But this has difficulties. Platforms can be more than an hour away from land, so helicopters may not be able to arrive in time. And even if they can, as Piper Alpha showed so dramatically, they are not always able to land on the installation to rescue people due to the effects of smoke, flames, or even unignited gas releases. So alternative means of evacuation are also provided, usually in the form of lifeboats, or totally enclosed motor-propelled safety craft, to use their accurate name. There are commonly two different types of lifeboats on installations: Davit-launched and free-fall lifeboats. Davit-launched lifeboats are lowered to the sea on cables, then disengaged from the hooks when they reach the sea. However, sometimes there are difficulties disengaging from the hooks, as experienced by the Alexander Kielland in the disaster that happened in 1980 in Norway. During that accident, lifeboats were smashed against the side of the hull, resulting in the deaths of some occupants. However, more modern release hooks make this less of a problem. Freefall lifeboats, by contrast, use gravity to drop the lifeboat from height into the water. Freefall lifeboats are increasingly becoming the standard for lifeboats offshore, as they are quick to launch and are able to get the lifeboat away from the installation quickly. It is also less reliant on the engine of the lifeboat being started to get the craft away from the oil rig. Both Davit-launched and freefall lifeboats are totally enclosed, and also include air systems and deluge systems to protect the occupants from the effects of fire and smoke until the craft is safely away from the installation. However, it's crucial that hatches are kept shut during an escape. During the Usumacinta disaster in Mexico in 2007, this didn't happen, with tragic consequences. 22 persons lost their lives during the evacuation. There is also a special type of lifeboat if there are divers on a rig, the hyperbaric lifeboat. Most diving operations are conducted using saturation diving, where divers spend up to 2 weeks at a time in a pressurised diving spread. Divers cannot go from that pressure to normal atmospheric pressure quickly due to decompression sickness. So special lifeboats are provided that include pressurised habitats for the divers to escape. But what happens if workers are unable to evacuate by using either helicopters or lifeboats? This happened during the Deepwater Horizon disaster, when lifeboats left the installation before everybody had escaped. And during the Piper Alpha disaster, the lifeboats could not be launched at all due to the massive flames and smoke impairing the lifeboat embarkation area. Well, in that situation, a number of alternative methods of escape are provided. Most installations also have life rafts, which can be thrown overboard at various places around an installation, or lowered down using winches and inflated. Workers then need to get down to the sea level to board the life rafts, which isn't always easy. For fixed jacket installations and offshore drilling rigs, ladders are often provided on the legs of the structure to get down to the sea. But in the hostile environment of locations such as the North Sea, these ladders are often washed away by waves and difficult to maintain. So alternative ways of getting to the sea are also commonly provided. The most common alternative method is a personal descent device, such as the donut system. Using these devices, workers escaping from the platform can abseil from lower deck levels down to the sea to board life rafts, or even suspend themselves just above the water to wait for rescue by the fast rescue craft and the standby vessel. But an increasingly common method is escape chutes. An escape chute is lowered down to the water from the installation. When the chute gets down to sea level, a platform at the base of the chute inflates, and from the platform, life rafts can be launched. Workers descend down the chute by wriggling from side to side. The life rafts can then be boarded directly from the inflatable platform without having to enter the sea. Of course, should all of those systems fail, the only alternative is to jump. During the Piper Alpha disaster, many of the survivors had no alternative but to jump into the water, including 5 people who jumped from the helideck, some 175 feet high, and miraculously survived. There is a high likelihood of personnel entering the water during an escape. In colder climates such as the North Sea, survival times in the colder months of the year are around 1 hour. So immersion suits are also provided for persons escaping the installation to prolong survival times, as well as life jackets. Other items of personal protective equipment are also provided to all personnel, including fire retardant coveralls, and smoke hoods, gloves and a torch in kit bags in cabins. Sometimes, particularly in confined spaces such as cargo tanks or platform legs, compressed air breathing sets are provided to assist in an escape. But what happens once you get down to the sea? Well, there is usually an emergency response and rescue vessel, more commonly known as a standby vessel, on location. Standby vessels are mandatory in the United Kingdom for all offshore installations, ever since the Sea Gem disaster in 1965. During that accident, no standby vessel was provided and 13 workers were killed when the rig collapsed. Standby vessels also have fast rescue craft that can be launched to assist survivors, and these were invaluable during the Piper Alpha disaster, although tragically most of the crew of the Sandhaven fast rescue craft were killed in the process of rescuing some workers by a fireball. So now you know how to escape from an oil rig in an emergency. I have videos about some of the disasters I mentioned on my channel, where I go into more detail on what's happened, so please check them out. And if you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe and leave any comments on what you think. Thank you for watching.